This week, Montreal Canadian Brian Savage. The NHL Players Association presents Be a Player, the hockey show. Brought to you by EA Sports NHL 2001. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
Welcome to Be a Player, the hockey show. I'm Brett Lindros, coming to you from one of the most hockey-mad cities in the world, Montreal. Well, it's been another trying season for fans of the Montreal Canadiens. For the second year in a row, the team has been ravaged by injuries, and earlier this year, the franchise decided to make management and coaching changes. Now, later in this show, we'll sit down with Brian Savage to see how the players have been dealing with this year of adversity. We'll feature Rob Ramage, former Montreal Canadian defenseman, on After the Game, but we'll get the ball rolling with a guy who played his major junior hockey here in the province of Quebec, Brad Richards of the Tampa Bay Lightning, on Next Generation.
Next Generation, brought to you by Gatorade. Is it in you?
Here's Brad Richards. Paul Mera heads to the net. Richards shot, he scores!
Our little community, we were always on the pond. For some reason, it seemed like everybody was a guy around my age. There wasn't too many girls in my little town, so we were always on the ponds. There was a pond right behind my grandparents' house that always froze over, and we were always on it. I always loved the game. My dad, fortunate to have a dad that dedicated himself basically to everything I wanted to do around the game, and right up until I was 17 years old when I went on my own to junior.
10 seconds to go in the foul on three. Pull the quick shot. Loose deep cut, and Richards buries the opportunity. Tries to get it back.
This year it's going a lot better than I expected. Individually wise, as far as stats and ice time and the role I'm playing on the team, I'm very happy. I love to have a role like that, offensive role and responsibilities. So I feel like the coaches have confidence in me, and my teammates have confidence in me. So I'm just playing with a lot of confidence right now. I know that could disappear any second, so hopefully I'll just keep it on even keel, don't get too high, and stay down to earth and remember what I did to get myself in this position.
Johnson has it, gets it in front. They score! Brad Richards put it home!
It's been great so far. I'm being able to grow as a hockey player down there, and it's easy to go to the rink every morning with the sun shining, and it's a great place to play. It's a great sports town. When you're winning, fans are amazing. So I'm looking forward to our team getting better and the town, really getting behind us.
Richards, fire, he scores! He just blasted it by Alishka.
It's now time for the Be a Player trivia question. To play along, send your answer to the NHLPA's website at www.nhlpa.com/beaplayer. All correct answers will be entered in a random draw with a chance to win an NHL 2001 video game courtesy of EA Sports or an autographed NHLPA jersey. For complete contest rules, check out nhlpa.com. Name the player who holds the record for most consecutive years in the playoffs. Later in the show, Brian Savage turns wine connoisseur.
I'd say it's not that old. I'd say it's
No.
in the 90s.
It is in the 90s. That's it.
good.
Yeah.
This week on Hit Parade, we present the best of the Coyotes with Lenny Kravitz and Fly Away.
Go ahead. Stop by first. Save. Robert S. Scores! Quick scores now. JRCT scores! By that man, a $5 cigar. It looks like we made it on that one. We'll try again.
final, but we'll see if we can't get it down.
Be a Player gives you a chance to ask your favorite NHL player a question. For your chance to participate, visit NHLPA.com.
Adam Stillman from Keene, Ontario asked Mario Lemieux, how do you prepare and build confidence before a game? Here's what Mario had to say.
Obviously, it comes in practices. You have to work hard in practice, do all the drills and listen to your coach, obviously, and that's the key. And just prepare yourself a couple hours before the game on what you're trying to achieve on the ice, and give 100%, and you should be fine.
For nearly a century, the children of Quebec have grown up dreaming of one day donning the fabled blue, blanc, and rouge of the Montreal Canadiens. This passion has been fueled by 24 Stanley Cup championships and world-class players such as Guy Lafleur, Jean Beliveau, and Maurice the Rocket Richard. Brian Savage has been living that dream for the past 7 seasons and has become one of Montreal's top players. Last season, he battled back from a career-threatening neck injury, and this season, the injury bug has struck again. This time, Brian suffered a broken thumb back in January as he was leading the team in scoring. It's not likely to stop the pride of Sudbury, Ontario, who visited with me in his Montreal home.
Here's Savage with a shot, he scores! Là para Savage qui s'en va, le tir et le but! Savage gets in, scores!
For many Canadians, you're either a Leaf fan or a Habs fan. Growing up in Sudbury, Ontario, where did your allegiances lie?
I was a Habs fan growing up, and I was also, I liked the Leafs, but my favorite player was Guy Lafleur, and I always had Habs outfits, and my uncle Larry Hellman played on the Habs in '69 and won the Cup, and he also won in Toronto in '67. So, growing up, my mom always got me to watch both.
I saw a picture downstairs that reminded me of the old Forum. Do you miss playing in the old Forum?
Definitely miss the old Forum. The atmosphere, the old musty sort of smell of an old rink, just like the Maple Leaf Gardens. And, everybody's cramming right on top of you, and that's a different atmosphere. And, I played 2 years there and played some of my best hockey in the Forum.
A lot of people think that Alain Vigneault did a good job getting you guys as close as he did to the playoffs, considering what's gone on. What was the players' reaction to the coaching change?
The last couple of years, I think he did a hell of a job to get us, that close to the playoffs. Obviously, he got nominated for Coach of the Year, and he was basically put in the same situation again this year. It was shocking, but players have been in this before and seen coaches come and go. But I thought he was a good coach, and he treated me with lots of respect.
Take me back to November 20th, 1999. Run me through what happened that evening.
Sure, we were playing LA. I believe it was the second period, and I was coming down the wing and cutting across their blue line, and fanned on the puck. And as I was going through, LaPerriere was coming in just to hit me, and it was an innocent hit. I was just in a very awkward position. And first thing I felt when I got was like a spasm in the middle of my back. When we got to the hospital, went through the x-rays, an MRI showed some fuzziness around my neck. Bone scan showed 3 cracked vertebrae. First thing across your mind is, are you going to walk? My wife's 5 months pregnant at the time, and I'm supposed to be taking care of her, and she's the one who's taking care of me. I got a hospital bed up in my bedroom, and she did a wonderful job there for 3 or 4 months that I was struggling to get back. But I had a lot of people encouraging me. My family was down, and I had great therapy personnel that got me through the days where I didn't want to be there, and 4 months later I got back on the ice.
Savage 2-on-1. Savage shoots, he scores!
Over the past couple of years, some major events have occurred in your life. How has life changed for you?
Well, I'm definitely comfortable now, with everything. Got married a couple of years ago, now have a baby boy. And, I've been through a lot in hockey, and definitely with the injury last year, this little guy brings a lot of smiles to me when I come home from a tough day at the office.
Here he gets shoved into the boards, and that may be the injury there, Sammy.
Last year, the Canadiens set a record with 536 man games missed due to injury. And now this year, it seems like it's happening again. Why do you think this team is so injury prone?
It's hard to say, everybody comes into camp in great shape. you know, it's just a very, very odd couple years. Like, knees, guys are out for 4 months. My neck, I'm out for 4 months. Guy's shoulder needs total reconstruction. They're out for the season. It's, you know, you just don't see that on any other team, and I can't explain why it's happening to us, but it's frustrating, definitely, because I know with a full lineup, we're a competitive team. We can make the playoffs.
A quick release is important when shooting the puck, and there's nothing quicker than the one-timer. When done properly, it can catch a goalie off guard. It's not all in the shot, however. A good one-timer starts with an accurate pass, quick instincts, and proper body mechanics. In setting up the shot, your teammates are involved. A good pass by Brian Rafalski gives Jason Arnott a chance to score. Now for Arnott, he had to find some open ice, get himself set, and get ready to make the shot. Good, solid effort by Arnott pays off in a goal. But it's all about body mechanics. Watch Jason Arnott load up for this shot. He gets weight on his left foot, gets his weight transferred to his back. His eyes are firmly on the puck. And when the puck comes in, look at his stick. All kinds of pressure on his stick. His eyes again, make sure that the puck's in the right position to shoot. Now the follow-through. The torque of the follow-through gets all the power towards the net. Arnott was far away on that shot, but the proper body mechanics gave him the power needed to find the hole.
Montreal is world famous for its diverse culinary delights. From fine dining to eclectic cafes and delis, this is the city to go if you have a hearty appetite. Thank you. Now, Schwartz's Deli is the place to go for famous Montreal smoked meat. It's absolutely delicious, piled high on rye bread. It's something you don't want to miss if you're ever in Montreal. And what goes better with a nice meal than a glass of fine wine? One of Brian Savage's favorite things to do away from the rink is collect unique vintages. During our stay in Montreal, we had an opportunity to check out his collection on part 2 of our Be a Player profile.
Well, here we are downstairs at the Pied de Coudon. This is where all the private cellars are located. People in Montreal can come here and store their wine and come get it whenever they need it.
Now, how did you get involved with wine? Something as a hobby, obviously.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago, Vincent Donfus and Mark Recchi introduced me to wine with dinner, and ever since there I've been collecting wine.
How many bottles are in your collection?
I've got about 1,200 now.
Really? Very impressive.
Let's go try a little.
That sounds good. I'll follow you.
All right.
I just wanted to take you through the tasting very simply. First thing you have to do is look at the wine. It's not going to tell you much about the quality of the wine as much as give you an idea of how concentrated it is. An older wine, if we're talking about red wines, well, you're going to have a more orange tinge in the glass more than a violet tinge. So violet will be a young wine, orange will be an older wine. Now let's smell it and tell me what you smell in this.
I got some oak.
Yeah.
Pretty oaky.
Pretty oaky. Woody.
Woody.
You see it on TV that these guys are swirling their glasses, smelling. Does that make a big difference?
Yes, it does actually. When I take this glass that hasn't been swirled and I only smell the lightest aromas. When I shake it, the oxygen goes into the wine and you have more aromas. Then when you smell, you have a more complete image. And after that, it's just a habit of doing it.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm going to get it all over, Stefan.
Well, when you
Old wine. You definitely can tell it's a Cabernet.
Yes.
From California.
Yeah, and that usually comes when you have the blackberry tones and some sort of a cedar smell to it.
So what would be a good dinner to serve this wine with?
With great quality wines like we're having right now, I keep the food simple. Piece of grilled red meat, lamb, beef, simple sauce. Let the wine speak.
I see.
Let's go over to wine number 2 to compare.
I'm having a hard time distinguishing. The first one I could smell the oak, and this one it seems like it's more balanced, and I don't know exactly what I'm smelling.
If I tell you it smells like blackcurrant and you never took time to really smell a blackcurrant, how can you tell? It's training, and it's just being curious, tasting and being curious about it, trying to know what it smells like, listening to other people, what they say about it. If you try number 3, nobody knows here what this wine is.
I think it's from France, so France Bordeaux.
This smells a lot like this one.
I'd say it's not
It's not that old, I'd say. It's
No.
in the 90s.
It is in the 90s.
That's pretty
it.
good.
Yeah.
Obviously, all of them were great. I think the first one, I like the oakiness in it, but the second one was a little smoother, so I like that one the best.
I have to say the first one is my favorite.
Yeah.
I like California wine. It's excellent wine. I like the power, the taste.
I like the first one and the second one. I like the second one a little more because it's a little smoother. I like the big California cabs also because I like steak and potatoes. And I think these wines would go great with my meal.
I like that dryness in my mouth. I thought it was sort of a cleaner aftertaste than definitely the first one, which is very powerful. If you're a powerful guy, so you like that. So, I enjoyed the Italian. It was I just enjoyed the flavor of it, and I like the bouquet of it as well. I believe is the smell.
Oh, wow. What would you have champagne with?
What I would have a champagne with is really good company. That's all I would have. A Stanley Cup, that'd be a good idea.
Coming up on After the Game, two-time Stanley Cup winner Rob Ramage.
It worked out for me, tremendously in Calgary. We had a very strong, deep team, and I was just one small part of it.
Be a Player, the hockey show, sponsored by EA Sports NHL 2001. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
Welcome back to the show. Now, it's hard to believe this, but the building I'm in right now was built for the 1976 Summer Olympic Games here in Montreal as a velodrome. Now, since hosting the top cyclists in the world, there's obviously been a few transformations here into what they now call an environmental museum, known here in Montreal simply as the Biodome. Now, right now, we're in a recreation of a tropical rainforest, and this is fantastic. Visitors can come here and ask questions and find out why this ecosystem is so important to our world. Now, one former player who's made a great transition after his playing days are done, 15-year NHL veteran and former Maple Leaf captain, Rob Ramage. Here's Rob on After the Game.
During his 15-year career in the NHL, Rob Ramage established himself as one of the best two-way defensemen in the game. In 1987, after 6 seasons with the St. Louis Blues, Rob was dealt to the Calgary Flames, where he would help lead the franchise to its first ever Stanley Cup in 1989.
It worked out for me tremendously in Calgary. We had a very strong, deep team, and I was just one small part of it. But it was a veteran team. There was great leaders. It wasn't one guy. We could throw 4 lines out there, 3 sets of D. We had good goaltending, and it was just a good group to be around. We did a lot of things off the ice. Our families were all close, and it certainly, I think, contributed to the success we had on the ice.
Before retiring in 1994, Rob would win one more Stanley Cup with the storied Montreal Canadiens. Today, Rob lives in St. Louis, where he works as an investment broker for A.G. Edwards.
I kind of consider myself a financial coach. I work with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but I'm not a stock jockey. I was a conservative stay-at-home defenseman, and that's my philosophy as far as investments going. We work with money managers, both private and through mutual funds. And just like when I was playing hockey, it was my job to get the puck up to Lanny McDonald and the goal scorers. It's my job as a financial consultant to find the best experts on how to invest that money and utilize them. It's getting people to start investing their money, to setting aside, getting them on a game plan and getting them following that game plan. And a lot of times you don't see the fruits of your labors for a few years. But watching what they came in with and where they're at now and where they're headed is tremendously satisfying for me. That they're going to be able to realize their financial goals and aspirations so that if they want to retire or live in a certain lifestyle, I'm going to help make that become reality. Everyone ready to go? Eventually my son got to an age where he was playing on a team. They asked if I could help out and coach. I had to earn my stripes, so I was only an assistant coach for a couple of years until they hand over the reins and let me be a head coach.
Play hard. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Let's go,
I've got 9, 10, 11-year-olds, and I hope they don't hear the word trap until they're 20. I mean, there's no place in it for kids our age that I'm coaching. I mean, they need to work on their fundamentals, which we do in practice, compete, play hard, and have fun. Just being part of a team is really something special. You learn so many lessons about life in general. It's about what's going on in the locker room and going to those tournaments and goofing around in the hotel hallways when you're out there. It's the total package, it's a total experience. And the rewards from working with these kids is tremendous. You see them develop as people and as players, and it's very, very rewarding.
Be a Player Trivia is brought to you by EA Sports NHL 2001. If it's in the game, it's in the game.
Which player holds the record for most consecutive years in the playoffs? Most consecutive years in the playoffs. Original 16.
I'm not sure about this.
It's gotta be like an old Montreal guy or
yeah, it's gotta
something
be.
like that.
Serge, what do you think?
What's your part of the country?
Henri Richard.
Bobby Orr.
Still kicking around the game? Old, new?
He's a coach now. He's an older guy.
Jacques Lemaire.
Coached out west and is now coaching in the east.
Why don't you tell him who it is?
20 years.
20 years.
That should give it away right there.
Robinson.
Here's something you don't see in any other NHL arena. 24 Stanley Cup banners. Well, that's curtains for this edition of Be a Player, the hockey show. I'd like to thank Brian Savage of the Montreal Canadiens for his hospitality. Make sure you catch next week's show as we'll sit down and profile some of the greatest players in the game today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.
NHLPA.com is your source for the latest stats, scores, and NHL player information. Click on Be a Player for the latest show information or send us your questions and comments. You'll find it all at NHLPA.com. Brett Lindros is clothing supplied by The Coop, clothing for men, Toronto.
But first, we're going to get the things rolling. Ball rolling, things rolling, ball and things. Ball things. The Biodome. Perfect. It's absolutely beautiful here. It's passion of Habs fans has been fueled. The passion of Habs fans has been fueled. Brian, I want to thank you for your hospitality here in Montreal. This has been a great idea. Oh, it's a lot of fun. I'm going to start drinking more.